We're always hesitant to declare something unequivocally beautiful, what with all that eye of the beholder stuff, but with this new Aston Martin Vantage, we really have no choice. I mean, just look at it. Those sharp body lines are like they've been forged by a Japanese sword maker, the sleek air-slicing profile, the huge whale shark mouth. If this thing doesn't get your petrol-powered heart beating faster, you're either blind or dead. The good news is, it's more than just a pretty face. Under that bonnet lives the stonking Biturbo V8 from Mercedes-AMG, and that helps make this the fastest accelerating Aston of all time. So is that enough to finally take the fight to the 911?
In this new Vantage, that AMG engine produces a whopping 375 kilowatts and 685 newton meters, sending that power charging towards the rear tyres via an 8-speed ZF automatic. It's enough for a sprint to 100 kilometers an hour of 3.6 seconds and a flying top speed of 314 kilometers an hour. Also new for this Vantage is an electronic rear differential, a first for the British brand, along with adaptive dampers that are linked to 3 drive modes: Sport, Sport Plus and Track. It sits on a similar bonded aluminium frame as the brand's DB11, one that uses aerospace adhesives to hold it all together, and that helps keep the dry weight to 1,530 kilograms.
Now, the Mercedes influence doesn't just start and finish under the bonnet. Aston Martin's also had access to their electrical architecture, and it means if you've ever been in a Mercedes cabin, you'll find plenty of familiar elements in here, like this turn dial and some of the switchgear, which is lifted straight out of the Mercedes product. Now, that's actually been a really good thing for Aston Martin. The cars of old have felt at least a generation or two behind the times in terms of technology, whereas this one feels far more up to date. Now, technology aside, it is a lovely and performance-focused cabin in here, not least of which because this beautiful flat bottom wheel allows you to adjust the suspension setting and throttle mapping on the fly, which is pretty cool. So let's start with a little bit of history of this car. So basically, an order had come down from the highest levels of Aston Martin management, demanding that they at last build a car that goes as good as it looks, something not all Astons of the past could claim. And while a handful of laps on a foreign racetrack really isn't enough to decide whether this car can at last give the 911 a toweling, it is more than enough to discover that this car has this really delightful personality. It is overflowing with soul. Now, under the bonnet, of course, is that fabulous Biturbo V8 engine that they've taken from Mercedes, compliments of the technical partnership the two brands have. And I can tell you that in this car, it is every bit as fantastic as it is in the AMG. There is just so much power available at any given point. It's utterly ridiculous. And then, of course, there's the sound. If you can hear that, and how could you not? This car is fitted with the optional quad exhaust system, which is Aston Martin's answer to a sports exhaust, and it sounds like the God of Thunder at all times. So much so that the brand has had to install a quiet start function so your neighbours don't run out with a shotgun when you start your car every morning. It is absolutely fantastic. So let's just give you a quick example of the fanfare of this thing. So this is a sprint to 100 kilometers an hour, which Aston Martin reckons takes about 3.6 seconds. And to be honest with you, it feels and sounds every bit that quick. Check this out. Plant your foot, takes a moment to figure out what it's going to do with all that power, and then it just screams through the gears till you're going a little bit faster than you're anticipating.
The all-new Vantage will arrive in Australia around July this year, wearing a price tag of around $300K when it gets here, and Aston Martin reckons it will be so popular, it will add as much as 25% to their total sales haul.
Now, as this has been a track-only test, it's impossible to give a definitive verdict about what this thing is like to live with on a day-to-day basis, but we can say this: the new Vantage is absolutely brimming with personality, and Aston, at last, has a car where the substance matches the style.